that, though. What would that do at its most basic level? Because I heard different things about universal health care and public options and things like that. At its most basic level, all that's doing is going to take money from me that I've earned, and it's going to give it to somebody else to whom it does not belong so that they can buy health care. How might that work if I tried it? If I decided that since I couldn't give Marina $1 million, I was going to go to Ed and I was going to force him to give me money, $1 million. Good luck with that. Yeah. You don't have $1 million on you? So let's say I went to Ed and I forced him to give me whatever he has on him so I could give it to Marina to buy health care. That would be called theft. Right? So what is it when the government does it? Theft. In other words, we can't vote for the people in the government to do our dirty work for us. If we want to commit a crime, we just can't go to the government, ask them to do it, and assume it's not still a crime. So that's what the government can't do. What can they do? Well, go back to a state of nature again. I have a God-given right to defend my life, liberty, and property. So by extension, the federal government not only has a right, but an obligation to defend my right to life, liberty, and property. And I know this might be a little bit of a different concept for some of you to think of these last two ideas, but it makes a lot of sense if you really think about it. It makes a lot of sense that at some point in human history, people would have gotten together and said, you know, we are spending a lot of time defending our lives, our liberty, and our property. We should really get together and create some sort of a common force that could defend all of our lives and all of our liberty and all of our property all at the same time. Think how much time we could save. And while that sounds a little bit weird, it's pretty close to what happened here in this country. If you don't believe me, look at the Declaration of Independence. It says that all men are created equal. They are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Among these, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. So what's that saying? That the whole reason we create governments is to secure our rights. It's a brilliant idea. It makes a lot of sense when you think about it that way. And one of my big things is whenever I talk to people, it's easy to explain things so that you understand it while I'm standing here. But I want you to be able to apply these things next week, week after that, week after that. So if you want to understand these last two concepts, there's a couple easy questions you can ask yourself. If you want to figure out if something that's being proposed is a legitimate function of government, ask yourself, at its most basic level, what does this proposed law or program do? Sort of like what we did with the healthcare thing. And then ask yourself this question. If I did what this law is doing, would I have to commit a crime? If the answer is yes, it's not a legitimate function of government. It's very simple. So what should the government do? What do I want the government to do? Ask yourself, does this proposed law or program protect my rights? If this passes, will I be less free or more free? And if the answer is less free, it's probably not something the government should do. Very simple concepts, but isn't it amazing when you look at these things broken down how brilliant our Constitution really is?
Yes.
And if you keep these concepts in mind while you're listening to our politicians talk, you will be blown away at how much they do not understand it at all. You'll be so much more frustrated than you were beforehand. It's great. Before I go, I wanted to leave you with one more idea. I spent a pretty decent amount of time making fun of Illinois today. Rightfully so, I think. But things are starting to change. Think of how much progress we've made in 1 year. Just imagine what we were like last year in January. Things have changed a lot. So, we've been at this a while, though. We've been doing this for about a year, and it can be exhausting. I'm sure a lot of you are getting tired. Maybe some of your friends are getting burnt out. There's a question we all have to ask ourselves, which is, how far are we going to take this thing individually? How committed to all this are we? So, when everything's said and done in this struggle, everything's been said and done in our struggle to figure out where this country's going, will you have said more or will you have done more? Are you going to sit on the sidelines and just complain about what the politicians are doing? Or are you going to get out there, speak your mind, and defend your freedom? I used to be a guy that would sit on the sidelines, I'd watch TV, and get really, really angry at what the politicians were doing. And then I wouldn't do anything about it. The days when we could get away with that are over. So here I am, going around, I'm trying my best to teach as many people about the Constitution as I possibly can. And honestly, we have 7-month-old twins at home, so I think I should get credit just for being awake tonight. Actually, funny story, when I was leaving the house, I looked in the mirror and I thought, oh man, this thing's going to be in a church. I probably should have put a tie on. And then I thought, nah, with the amount of sleep I got this week, they're lucky I'm wearing pants. Which is sad but true. We've had some sleeping issues. So what's the point of all that? We're all busy. I get that. Believe me, I get that. But right now, we have men and women who are putting their entire lives on hold, going halfway around the world and risking their lives to defend freedom. Wouldn't it be sad if the reason why we ended up losing our freedom was because people like you and I were too busy to defend it here at home? Yeah, I like Ed. Next year, Ed's going to be here, right? So we've all got to ask ourselves a question. What are we going to commit to doing this year to defend our freedom? Are you going to work for a candidate that you believe in? Are you going to run for school board or county board? Or are you going to educate a friend or family member about the Constitution? Either way, you've got to decide what you're going to do, because if you just say, I'm going to do something, you're never going to do it. So what do you say? Who's with me? Who's committed to making a difference this year? I like that. Very cool. Thank you very much. I hope to see you all again soon.
All right. Thank you very much.